Hello, I'm Franz Krause, an anthropologist from the University of Cologne, and I would like to speak a little bit about an article I recently wrote that is titled "The Tempo of Solid Fluids on River Ice, Permafrost and Other Melting Matter in the Mackenzie Delta." This article grew out of a current research project at the University of Cologne where we look into life in river deltas around the world, a project that is funded by the German Research Council, DFG. For the article, I conducted fieldwork in the Mackenzie Delta, which is located right in between the Inuvialuit settlement region and the Gwich'in settlement area in the very northwest corner of the Northwest Territories in Canada. I spent time mostly in and around the hamlet of Aklavik, which has around 600 mostly Gwich'in and Inuvialuit inhabitants. The research developed in collaboration with the Gwich'in Tribal Council's Department of Cultural Heritage, as well as the Aklavik Hunters and Trappers Committee. Now, as the title says, water and ground shift between being more solid and more fluid in the delta, with the seasons due to temperature and other factors. What I explore in the article is how delta inhabitants use these dynamics, for instance, in trail making and in ice road building. So for moving about and for building things and for being in the delta, they know how to use a solid fluid environment. Some of these processes, especially those of liquefying, have been accelerating with climate change, which redistributes opportunities. Some things that used to be more difficult in the past are getting easier now, but many things that people have become used to in the past are now becoming quite difficult. Importantly, though, what I find is that this acceleration is not a radical departure from a supposedly former static world, but instead, for delta inhabitants, the world has always been dynamic and transforming. So although, for instance, the river ice breaks up every late spring with the floods, and people know that it's going to happen at some point, nobody ever knows exactly when and how this breakup is going to be. So these dynamics we can call rhythmic. They repeat, but they are never repeating in exactly the same way as the previous time or the year before. What I show in the article is how Gwich'in and Inuvialuit people excel at traveling through this landscape and at using these dynamics of solids and fluids. And I also show how solidity and fluidity are not things in themselves, but they're relational, and they come into being, or things come into being as solid or fluid in relation to people's projects, technologies, practices. Now, the context for this article is a special issue that is edited by Tim Ingold and Christian Simonetti, and I invite you to look at their introduction and at other fascinating contributions to the collection. All look at solid fluids from a variety of perspectives from anthropology and beyond. I should probably say a couple of things about solid fluids. So, as a solid fluid, we understand a substance that behaves like a solid at times and under particular circumstances, and as a fluid in other times or circumstances. For instance, like silly putty is a famous example. Other things that can be solid fluids are sand, for instance. As a grain of sand, we have a very solid little thing, but if we look at how sand moves en masse, it's more like a fluid, forming dunes that move through the desert or ripples along a beach. So thinking about the Mackenzie Delta in terms of solid fluids, I found that very productive in order to facilitate a discussion not only about the particular things that I learned from delta inhabitants about the delta and its transformations, but also solid fluids can spark an interesting conversation between indigenous North American theorists on the one hand, like for instance Vanessa Watts and Kim Tallbear, and on the other hand European theorists like Henri Lefebvre and Michel Serres. So I hope you get a chance to read the article, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'd be more than happy to speak about this more. Thank you.